All righty. Welcome back. This is Kevin Hauser.
Where's your microphone?
What do you mean?
Your microphone.
I don't know. Where is it? No, it's the earpiece. Where's the microphone?
I don't know, man.
Well, everything is so convoluted here.
Oh, God.
Hold on. We'll find. Don't worry about it. I got it.
Kevin thought it would be good to come on air without his microphone. I mean,
well, that way you told me to shut up before, so clearly I took your advice. Is this it?
Let's see. That's it.
All right. Let's see.
It would help if people could hear you. It's a nice vest you got, though.
Well, thank you. You can't hear me say thank you.
Oh, they hear you. I'm sure they're probably.
Now, can you hear me?
Am
I good?
Man.
Right. Whatever. Listen, today has been.
It's one of those days, man.
Today has been
to drive home.
You know what? I'm actually afraid. People don't know. I'm going to tell them about today. So I got into the office earlier than you did today. And
startled me when I walked in.
Yeah, but that wasn't
having a hard time there, by the way.
No, I'm good. What startled me more was hearing you.
I kind of lost my shit.
I think, it's funny because I thought as you were going nuts, well, let's just give a little background. We were having some serious technical difficulties this morning before Andy's podcast. And
with Rick Rule and Alistair McLeod.
And to say the least, I've never heard you that way. Ever. I mean, I've seen you mad. I haven't seen you that mad.
I have a long fuse. People from Minnesota have very long fuses. My fuse has reached its limit.
I can tell you that the roof came off the building.
Yeah, well, the issues in getting this studio to where we need it has been enough to gray me. I was full dark hair before this all started.
I know. And I actually, it's funny because as you were starting the podcast and screaming, I heard at the door and I was like,
who was it?
I thought it was a neighbor in the office complaining. It was FedEx, but I said to Alyssa, it's got to be a complaint because you were screaming.
I was so pissed off.
It was a lot. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
No,
so
I'm glad that we finally resolved.
Yes. So I'm going now that I have a microphone and hopefully it's working. If not, well, let's see. I'm hearing that your mic is too quiet.
My mic is.
That's what
quiet?
Krusty Whitebread says.
Let's put it up here more.
And
that's better.
And it says Andy's mic is off, but
my mic is off.
I don't know if that's correct. Hold on. Andy ate his mic, is what it says. Can everyone hear me okay?
And can they hear me?
Type in the comments if you would. Let me know if my mic is right. Tattoo is good. And how about Andy?
Am I any better?
Is his any better? Up his volume. You might get to see Andy go ballistic today, which, that might be another. Whew. Well,
turn up the volume on that.
No, it's down. How about that?
Well, let's hope it's better. I'm hoping.
Loud and clear. Andy's loud and clear.
Yes. Hello. Am I?
I'm hearing that you're low.
I might lose my shit again.
I
really, truly might.
This is totally fine.
Guess I'll just
Andy, so if you want to switch mics then? Might as well do that, at least, because you're going to be speaking more than I do. And I'm a lot louder than you, generally speaking. So, okay.
There you go, sweetheart.
All right, so I guess we're still having a little bit of technical difficulties. I will speak louder, which is really not that big of an issue for me. Very loud.
You do speak loud.
I know.
I speak loud. You speak louder than anybody.
I know. I generally do.
Doing your own podcast isn't as easy as it seems sometimes.
Can everyone hear me now? I'm not the important one. Okay, someone said the fellow with the glasses sounds fine. That would be me.
So your voice just carries, I guess.
And to get that introduction done properly this time, again, I am Kevin Hauser, a.k.a. Tattoo, here with the much more relaxed and calm, infamous Andy Scheckman. Andy, how you doing?
Good to see you, Kevin.
Yeah. How are we doing today?
Oh, I'm all right, man. It's just been a day, to say the least. But
it has been a day. We'll get through it.
Nothing easy. Nothing easy ever happens in this world for us.
But on a more positive note, we've seen some insane price movement and market gyrations with these metals. What do you make of it?
It's different than anything I've ever seen in my career. 35 years, never seen anything like it ever. Strength upon strength upon strength, and even when it pulls back, often in the middle of the night, it's coming back strong later on in the afternoon or in the morning once it hits New York. It used to be the opposite of that, by the way. We would see strength in Asia, strength even as it transitioned to the UK. And then as it would leave the UK on the PM fix, it would get smacked down every single night on the PM fix, heading into New York on a downslope, where then it would trend up a little bit. And the minute it left New York towards Asia, it would go up again. Now it's the opposite of that. We're seeing shorting, it seems, or weakness in the middle of the night, which to me is like short covering or driving the price down to cover as it hits New York in the thinly traded aftermarkets, it's the access
liquidity in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I think that caused them to do it. And you know what's funny is, we were talking about it last week in Jersey, but about time we saw, like CNBC, for example, finally put gold on the map. They finally started talking about it. They had a couple of experts on there, and the experts that were talking about it, though, were saying that you can still buy gold, but it's easier to do so in an ETF. And, great advice, except you don't own gold. Right. And that's what we were talking about last time, is you own the price action, and, the trust owns the gold, but the person does not. It could be liquid. You can always sell it, but you can't actually request physical delivery of those metals for the normal person, the normal mom and pop that buys, a little bit at a time. And unless you accumulate in a massive amount, you're in specific type of these ETFs, you can't take that physical delivery. So I will commend CNBC for at least giving some of the props to the yellow metal that it deserves after God knows how long. It only took it up being 50%, and silver now being up 60 some odd percent to do so. So literally my hat is off, because I'm not wearing one, to you, CNBC. Let's go into, we were in New Jersey. You gave some unbelievable presentations. It was spectacular. As always, you did great.
Thank you.
Why don't you share a little bit about certain of the topics that you spoke about there? I know that it might be a little bit similar to what we talked about last week, but I think that there's been some new developments that you might want to shed some light on.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things that stuck out to me over the last couple of weeks has been the change in attitude by some of the big banks. We have Michael Hartnett from Bank of America. He's one of the chief investment officers there. He has a high buck service, a letter that he talks about things at a much higher level. I would think that the people buying his service are institutions and very sophisticated traders. He has come out and talked about instead of a 60-40 split, which we mentioned, I think last week, started out with Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley chief investment officer said, let's go from 60-40, which is 60% stock, 40% bond allocation, which has been the mantra of Wall Street forever, to a 60-20-20, 20% gold, 20% treasuries or bonds, and 60% stock. I wonder what these guys really think when they say that, because they've always talked about a 5% bullshit allocation, and now they're saying 20. Michael Hartnett for Bank of America, again, the CIO was Morgan Stanley. Michael Hartnett, big time guy at Bank of America, says a 25-25-25-25 portfolio to pick up some extra returns. That would be 25% stock, 25% bonds, 25% treasury paper like notes and short-term treasuries up to 2 years, I suppose, and 25% gold. You got the head guy, Chris Wood from Jefferies, and ironically, Jefferies bought Prudential Beige. Prudential Beige was a primary U.S. Mint distributor. God bless Walter Bohowicz. Walter was the head gold trader at, if you're still watching out there, Walter, you know I'll always love you, brother. Walter was the head trader at Prudential Beige many years ago, who nominated Miles Franklin to be a primary, or to be an authorized reseller of U.S. Mint products. Prudential got bought by Jefferies. Jefferies was for a moment one of the main U.S. Mint authorized participants. There's only 6 or 7 of them. Jefferies got out of the gold business. I say this to you because Jefferies understands gold. They were a primary U.S. Mint distributor amongst other. They were for all the mints, Canada, Austria, Australia. They were doing business with all of them because they were a primary distributor. Chris Wood, the head of global equity for them, just came out and said $6,600 is his target for gold.
And yeah, I mean, because I read that and it was astounding to me. But the way in which, he developed his thesis on the 6,600 was pretty crazy, because he was one that several years ago talked about gold at 3,700. But what he does is he tracks it on the relative basis to your disposable personal income per capita. And it's a little weird, but when he did it, I think he was looking at the 1980 peak, and when it reached the equivalent of like 9.9% of the disposable income per capita, which was 8,551 at the time. Today, with the disposable income at 66,100, the gold price represents about 5.6%. So it's only half of what it was. So the upside target from his standpoint would be around 6,600. And he was talking about his greed and fear investor notes. But the bottom line is he changed his thesis or his methodology behind it. And because of that, we now get to the 6,600.
Look at you, Tattoo. I am so proud of you.
Listen, research.
I am so, everybody, look at Tattoo.
Yeah.
He's like, you're look at you. You should be proud of yourself.
Listen,
I'm proud of you.
I have a very good
sakes.
mentor.
No, don't be silly.
I have a very good mentor.
It's crazy how you said that like you actually knew what the hell you were talking about.
You know what? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Jefferies actually acquired J. Aaron and Company, which used to be extremely large in the metals business, which turns out the grandson of J. Aaron was a very close friend of ours here in Florida.
No kidding.
Yeah, if Stephen Aaron's watching, hats off to you, Stephen. And Michael, twins. But yes.
So one other thing that is worth talking about is Jeffrey Gundlach. He's known as the Bond King, or one of the Bond Kings, and he's talking about people holding positions in gold. And again, this is really crazy when he's saying put 10% in gold and silver, 10% in Bitcoin, and get completely out of long-term bonds. He says, if you want to leverage, add gold mining stocks. Now, when the Bond King tells you to get out of bonds and buy gold, what the hell does that tell you? This guy that's made his living, they manage $10 billion, and he built his reputation on betting on bonds. And, these aren't gold bug podcasters like me and you, these are people your financial advisors would name drop to sound sophisticated. This is a dude who's saying get out of long-term bonds. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Truly, you can't.
Which would then lead us to our first question from Not Soul Keeper. What inning are we in? What inning are we in?
Very early innings.
I would agree.
And I say that by looking at Tether, right? Because, you got this new stablecoin bill, the Genius Act, right? And Tether is the biggest stablecoin company in the world, and they have right now north of 170 billion of stablecoins floating around. The reason I say we're early is that they just announced, as we've talked about on this show, a new special US dollar-backed stablecoin called USA. And this new stablecoin dollar will follow the rules written in the Genius Act. It's interesting when you realize that the CEO of Tether now is a man named Bo Hines, who until recently was Trump's crypto advisor, and he helped write some of these laws that he's now profiting from. But these rules say that every USA stablecoin must be backed by US Treasury bills. So by law, anyone who wants to use these digital dollars are now forced to lend money to the US government. And that's kind of the interesting thing here, is that every one of these coins, and they're going to be issued not just by banks, but by insurance companies and credit card companies and by corporations all over the place, will be backed by U.S. treasuries. But the interesting part about that is what is Tether doing with the money? So if Tether gets the money and buys the treasuries that pay interest, they don't pay the interest to the stablecoin, they keep it. With that money, they've been buying gold. They bought $8.7 billion worth of gold that we know of sitting in Swiss vaults. They're buying gold mining companies. They were just at the Beaver Creek Mining Summit, and talking directly with the miners. They made $13 billion in profit last year, and they're converting it to hard assets as fast as they can. So in other words, what they're doing is they take the money that you give them for the stable coin, they take the profit, they buy Bitcoin, they buy treasuries, and they buy gold. And it's interesting, it fits into the thesis of Stephen Mirren, who wants to devalue the dollar by raising the asset prices, I believe, of gold and by Bitcoin, so that the buying of treasuries pushes down interest rates, the putting of the excess money into gold and Bitcoin raises the price of gold and Bitcoin, devalues the dollar in essence. And so this would fit hand in glove to everything that we've been saying. And you look at Tether and say they're just getting started with this.
Right.
You got Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who says that they could get over $3.5 trillion a year in stablecoin issuance once this gets ramped up. All of that going into treasuries and all of that profit going into gold and Bitcoin. Now, again, this is for a reason. And I think some would say the Bitcoin would be used to pay off the indebtedness. The gold would be used to back the treasury on the long end of the bond market to keep rates low to bring back your manufacturing. But it is very interesting. So where are we? Even though we've seen the big moves, the public wouldn't know a gold coin if it fell on their damn foot. So we are nowhere near the middle of the game. Top of the second inning.
I think that we might be even just singing the national anthem.
Could be. You're right. I mean,
so let me just make sure that, because I want to cut this into baby food so everyone understands. So with the stable coins, every single time somebody buys a stable coin is purchasing treasuries. The person who owns a stable coin doesn't get anything. No interest, no coupon, nothing. The company who's issuing the stable coins gets the interest.
But they have to mandate it, put it into things that obviously they've worked out deals together.
So they're buying gold, they're buying Bitcoin, they're buying other things.
And treasuries.
And that's how and then of course that they're using the money to do those things. And all the person has is the stable coin. That's it.
That's correct. And the stable coin isn't even in essence being purchased. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you book a trip on American Express and you cancel that trip. And normally they would, that's not even a good one, because let's say you have a refund coming from a credit card company. So you return something and instead of being paid in dollars, my guess is that you will be paid in dollar-based stable coins that will go into your account.
Right.
And instead of transacting in wires, you're wiring money or sending a check, you're transferring stable coins. And that way, what the government has done, and it is genius from a diabolical sense, is they're creating demand for treasuries where there is none. And then they take the proceeds and they put the excess into gold and Bitcoin. And when you get guys like Gunlock and Hartnett and the head guy from Jefferies and the CIO at Morgan Stanley saying, get the hell out of bonds. I mean, it's just so easy to put the pieces together. People maybe they lack the courage or they lack the conviction to trust their own gut. But if you don't see how this is so right in your face, that's exactly what they're going to do. So I think the best of time is ahead for gold, and then to see silver reclassified a critical mineral. We're in the very early innings with silver as well, and platinum, which is also reclassified.
When do you think that the stablecoin issuances and the real mass use of stablecoins, when's that going to hit?
Soon. The sooner the better. I think they're all just preparing for it now.
Got it.
It's preparing the infrastructure, preparing the I think it's coming sooner than people would think. If I had to guess, before the end of the year, you'll start to see a transition to it.
Okay. We have some other questions. So, conspiracy stackers said he just woke up from a 40-year coma. How's silver doing? After 40 years, you damn well. We're doing pretty good right now here, Stacker.
Well, and let's talk about that, Stacker. You went to bed right after the 1980 peak in that case. And the 1980 peak was at $50, the top of the cup. It came straight down to the bottom of the cup around $4. It came back up to the top in 2011, came back down, and is now heading back up again. It is a cup and handle. And as you mentioned the other day in New Jersey, it's a double cup, which is even more powerful. A 45-year formation of coiled energy.
It's almost the most powerful technical that you can get when it comes to a breakout.
Right. And so the theory is once you break out above 50, you take the distance from top to bottom, which is from 50 to 4, that's 46. You add it to the top of the cup, and that says your next target is $96.
So I think maybe next week what we'll do is we'll actually, you can put something up on the screen while we're talking, right?
You can right now. You got that computer.
Oh, so we'll do that for next week. We'll put that chart up, and listen, we don't know what it's going to be. Maybe, I mean, silver closed today at I don't know, what did it close today? 47. Let me just say, I think 47.20 on the spot market. Let's just take a look.
I wonder if Jana's wearing lipstick, because I can see her sitting off stage there.
But I don't think she's wearing lipstick. Jana, shake your head. Are you wearing lipstick? Nope, she's saying something else right now.
I think she's giving me the finger.
I think so. It looks like we're sitting at 47.04 on the spot market, and gold sitting at 38.43. So we don't know. Maybe Monday, a week from today, we could be north of 50. I mean, very possibly on silver.
Look how fast it's been going up, though, man.
You and I discussed which is going to happen first, not the chicken or the egg, but what gets.
I thought $4,000 gold would come before $50 silver. Maybe they come in tandem. Wouldn't that be great?
I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think that the same people that are pushing, I think, are really.
And do you remember about a couple months ago, the banks started saying $4,000 gold is what, and now you're hearing 6,600. They keep raising the bar.
Well, don't you remember when Citibank, they lowered their price target on gold for a couple of weeks?
Yeah,
and
then they revised
it. Well, and they came back and said now they increased it to that point. I mean, look, and those were mid 26 figures. We're hitting those mid 26 figures now. And by the way, you know, one of the things that we saw, and even though China had a little bit of a hiccup for 6 months that they stopped buying, or at least in the capacity that they were,
they just weren't reporting it,
and that's really it. But I think that we're going to see, and I have something that I'll get to after we're done with a couple more questions that talks about the amount that we can expect to see China buying at the same type of capacity that they have been doing, which I think will probably, you know, blow everyone's minds on. So let me just leave
this conversation with one thought. When central banks are hoarding it, when Tether is hoarding it, when everyone who knows the game, from Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Jefferies, and Jeffrey Gundlach, the main guy at BlackRock, who manages $11 trillion, when they are all saying the same thing, maybe you should too. And you know, I just think that silver to gold ratio at 86-1 in this environment is the gift of a generation. And I don't say that to talk my book. I say that because it's the only thing that's left to break. And this 86-1 ratio is an anomaly. And the more interest that we see heading into this market, that will be one of the things that I think you will see break in spectacular fashion. So yeah, the silver value right now, asymmetrically, low downside, high upside, is screaming.
And with regard to gold, I think that you're probably now start hearing a lot of people out there saying that we might be overbought on gold.
Oh, bullshit.
But I think that, don't be mistaken for people saying that it's overbought to it being overvalued, because it's extremely very different in nature. Something can be overbought just on a technical
for a long
standpoint.
time.
That's
too.
right.
It can be overbought on a technical.
Oh yeah.
You know, overbought by whom? And I think that, you know, technically there are those that may say that, but I think overbought, it's laughable, because it's probably the most under-owned commodity in the world right now, from other than central banks, which are buying it hand over fist. The public has zero exposure.
Well, you know, one of the analysts over at where was it? Society Generale. he said,
Look at you. I am so proud. I'm like a proud father, for God's sakes.
Well, you know, the hair is a little grayer today than normal. So no, you saw my father. You were about a third of him. So no, definitely not my dad. But the analyst at the Society Generale, he estimated that the People's Bank of China had been buying 33 tons of gold every month, with that exception in 2022. That's what I was referring to, where there was a 6-month pause.
Vince Lancey is saying he thinks 85% of the gold that central banks are buying is not being reported.
Well,
it's just like us not auditing or telling anyone about Fort Knox. It's if the world is moving in this direction, why the hell would anyone be forthright about it?
Right. Well, that's what we were saying, is that Beijing is likely underreporting almost, I don't want to say all of it, but a striking amount that they have been buying that they're not reporting. Clearly, I mean, listen, it's China. They're not telling us anything of what they do. But,
or are we telling the world?
Of course.
You know.
But at that pace, they can keep stockpiling for the next 8 years if they want to bring their reserves in line with the other developed
nations. But that's the thing. Their reserves, by many people's, like Alistair McLeod, who I did a podcast with today, he and Rick Rule, when I lost my shit because the studio wouldn't work for 45 minutes. He said to me a year or two ago that he thought that they had 38,000 metric tons, which would be 5 times more than we did. He thought the people had as much as 18,000 metric tons and the state 20. They're the largest producer of gold in the world, and their numbers never changed my whole career. And back in the 90s and the early part of this decade, of this century, people would say that you can never believe the Chinese numbers. They never increase, and they're producing between 300 and 500 metric tons a year. So the numbers that they purport are, as you know what I'm going to say now, they are Fugazi. That's right. See, they're Fugazi.
I learned from you.
Yeah,
and Fugazi.
Yeah, I learned. You can
me.
see the kind of stuff I learned from
That's right.
tattoo. You know.
Well, I will say, I think that really what we're seeing here is a culmination. It's a one word. It's convergence. We are seeing everything all coming together at one time.
Yep.
I think that's really what it is. I think that you're seeing that the technical strength of both silver and gold. You're seeing the industrial demand for silver, which is we are now running on a 50-year deficit. We're seeing all of it come together, and we're seeing, of course, the shorts covering. We're seeing so much of it right now that I don't think, again, when we get back to what inning is it, I think that we can just applaud and see that we're singing our national anthem. I think that we go way higher, and I think that when we came on here, it was probably 2 months ago when somebody asked the question of, predictions. And I know that you don't like to give predictions, but I don't give a shit because you're the one that everyone's here to see.
Not for long, the way you're going.
And I said, I think that we probably can see somewhere between 50 and 60 by year end. I don't think that we could see 50 or 60 in October.
Could see it by tomorrow.
We could.
I mean, you never know. It just seems that the manipulation is losing strength and potency.
Yeah. But you did tell me, especially when it comes to silver, that don't be surprised, now that you're seeing 50-cent moves, $1 moves, don't be surprised to start seeing the $2 moves daily, the $5 moves daily. Because again, now we're at 47. A $2 move is not even 5%.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's roughly about that number.
There used to be a rule that was kind of an unspoken rule that the folks at GATA, and by the way, I don't say this enough, the GATA, Gold Antitrust Action Committee, Chris Powell, Bill Murphy, we all owe them a debt of gratitude, all of us. Any of us who own gold and silver owe GATA a debt of gratitude. If you have the ability to donate a few bucks to them, do it. They've fought the fight for all of us for years, a dangerous fight, a lonely fight. And they have my great respect, but the rule would have typically been never more than a 2% increase in a day. And often you would see things that would go up above 2%, and at the end they would smack it down below, just to keep it quiet so no one would ever notice. And when you talk about a 2% move now in gold, that is almost that's almost $80. Yeah. So, the numbers get bigger as the percentage, or as the prices get bigger, the percentages get bigger.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see big moves like that are also indicative of short squeezes and short covering. We saw a lot of that in silver recently when we had what's called declining open interest. And open interest is basically the amount of demand or the amount of open contracts on COMEX. So the more open contracts, the more interest, the higher the price would go. Think of it as demand. The more open interest, the more people are buying, the higher the price would go. We were seeing declining open interest, which means fewer people are playing the game and rising prices. Now that usually only happens in a short squeeze, where a short bear squeeze, where the people aren't buying and the price is going higher. That is because the shorts are covering. And now we're seeing massive inflows into the ETFs, which shows that big money, maybe even institutional money, is starting to come into the game. And if I'm a naked short right now, I'm freaking out, thinking, my God, I can't keep this down anymore. We keep trying to knock it down. And you can see that by the massive short position that we're seeing right now in SLV and in GLD. Huge short positions that have increased dramatically recently. And yet the price is still staying higher. If you're seeing gold right now, which is on pace for its best annual performance in 46 years, up over 43%, and that comes in the face of the short position on GLD jumping almost 70%, and SLV, where silver's up almost 50%, and its short position has just exploded by 67% higher. Normally, such a massive barrage of shorts would stifle and kill the price, where you just flood the market with borrowed shares, and that's not really doing anything. So you have these huge short positions, and to be able to naked short SLV and GLD, it might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But you see these short positions in GLD and SLV, and yet gold and silver continue to march higher. What does that say when you get capitulation in manipulation? And I'll say it again, and that's kind of like that could be like a song.
Dude, or make it put on your shirt.
Capitulation and manipulation.
I like that. We're going to put that on the back of the triple digit silver. Definitely.
When you can only manipulate a market for an extended period of time by pushing it in the direction it's going. Think of holding up a giant piece of plywood against the crashing waves of the ocean or against the wind. And then think of turning the other way with the wind with you. I mean, it will carry you like a kite versus being smashed like, whatever. And I think that's where we are. It was easy for the West to suppress and manipulate the markets when no one wanted this stuff. They just wanted stocks, bonds, real estate, US dollars. Gold and silver were an afterthought, and that's changing. Every dog has its day. It's our day, Scooby.
One of the analysts over at your buddy's place is Sprott. He actually made a distinction between what he felt silver was doing right now to palladium between 2016 and 2021, where it's a six-fold increase. So, when everyone talks about triple digit silver, we're not necessarily just talking about 100. At this point, with the power and the beast that it has behind it, we could see a couple hundred.
Who knows?
It's not far-fetched.
Well, I started in this industry in 1989, 1990. The Dow Jones was 2,100. And the first guy that spoke at a conference I went to said the Dow would go to 10,000, and they booed and laughed him off the stage. The Nikkei was at 40,000 then, and it fell down to 12 or 13,000. So markets go higher than anyone thinks possible, to the upside and to the downside. And I think that's an important clarification. Palladium, most of my career was around $300. It was less than platinum. It was less than gold. And then it had its massive upshot where it was far more than both. These kinds of things, setting price targets in a mania type of atmosphere, I think is silly. But I think they'll go higher than anyone thinks possible.
Agreed. All right, let's get to some questions. Kevin DeBella says, hey guys, will the GSR, which is the gold silver ratio, ever come down if gold doesn't stop ripping higher? Also, I'm a sound engineer, so if you need a tech, I can relocate. Well, we're going to definitely keep that in mind. But look, I do think no matter how fast and how far gold goes, yes, I do think that the GSR will come back to a normal
Maybe
level.
You should say what the GSR is, because not everyone knows that lingo.
The gold-silver ratio is the ratio between how much silver it takes, how many ounces of silver it takes to equal 1 ounce of gold.
Right.
And I can tell you that for much of Andy's career, that number historically was about 40 or 42 to 1.
Correct.
We're right now sitting at about 85 to 1. Now,
what's
again,
it coming out of the ground at?
Well, right now it's coming out of the ground at 7 to 1, but historically it was coming out of the ground at 16 to 1.
That's for 5,000 years. That's
right.
correct.
So we're getting less and less of silver. Right now, most of the silver is actually formed from a byproduct of other refining and other mining. So for us, we look at this and we say, okay, if right now we're sitting at 85 to 1, then, and the normal historical number is 40 to 1, well, that means that silver, because we don't think that gold is overvalued, we think there's a slingshot that could happen for silver to get back to that level. Now, there are a lot of people out there that you'll see numbers that they believe that silver should be trading at that number of 7 to 1, what it's coming out of the ground at in relation to gold. But right now, 85 to 1, that number is still completely out of whack.
Well, to that point, Michael Oliver, who we've had on our show, he's a frequent guest of Liberty and Finance, smart man.
Very smart.
He talks about momentum analysis, and he says that the lid of silver is going to come off in a big way that few would expect to see, revising sharply upward. And he thinks that's going to happen over the next several months into the first quarter. He says the technicals of both price and long-term momentum are telling him that it's about to occur. In fact, he thinks it's already underway. He calls it upside verticality. What is that?
You know what? Photovoltaic. I mean, you have, those are the two.
Let's just say he thinks it's going vertically upwards. All right. I had this down when I was listening to it earlier today, but vertically upside.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened.
Kevin's pushing buttons.
I don't know what's
Kevin
going on.
is pushing buttons.
I think
anyways,
Jonna, we're good?
Are we good?
Okay, she's good. She's got thumbs up.
Anyways, he's saying that in the next several months, he thinks that silver will accelerate. And he says if they move the way that they did in previous, like in the bull market in leading up to 1980, that he would expect at least $100 plus. And if you talk the 2010, 2011 price action, $200 is not out of the question. And so, I think that is an important thing to keep in mind, is that he's talking about silver really, really slingshotting. And that is typically the way that it goes, is gold goes first, silver goes faster by a percentage basis, which could just like that flip the GSR ratio.
On a dime,
it's
right.
averaged in the mid 40s for the last 100 plus years. It's coming out of the ground at 7 to 1. It's disappearing in nature. It's increasing in its uses globally, from everything from military to photovoltaic, which is of course the solar panel, anything
EV market, especially at the onset,
and the monetary side, right?
And especially with the EV market right now with the new batteries, which most of the time when we talk about technology, especially with silver, you would think, and most people would think, that with the advancements in technology, we wouldn't have to use as much silver for that. Well, the actual inverse is the case with these new batteries, is that the new technology for these solid state batteries use a lot more silver. So again, 50-year deficit, it's only going to get worse. We're using more and more of it as time goes on. Zach Ryan
Hang
wants
on,
to
before,
know,
I want to read one thing that Michael said, then we'll move on.
Is it going to be that word again that you can't pronounce?
No.
Okay.
He said the bull trend is underway, but he was talking about 2011 when it went up to 50. He said bull trend was underway, but the real explosion began in September 2010. There was a major first price surge for the next 3 months, and then a sharp drop month in January 2011. No doubt many investors considered that a top, but it wasn't. Then came the most powerful part of the move. MSA fully expects to see a corrective jolt at some point in the current upward process, though not near current price levels. We'll be monitoring for any such pullback and inform best we can. However, our main assessment is that any such pullback, before getting to levels that we think will be achieved, to flush out any nervous and late joining longs, of which there'll be so many, is a buying opportunity. So be careful, and this sharp move could just be sharp and quick. Yes, hogs get fed and pigs get slaughtered, but I promise the world I will not be the guy that doesn't say, hey, it looks like this is running out of gas. And I use all of the information you can find, and then take it and put it together and decide, is this something we should do? Michael is one that deals all about momentum, and he's very different than everyone else. He's very successful. So momentum is a big deal when you're talking about the amount of energy that will be piling into this market. So
yeah, and I think that it's important that everybody out there knows, we don't greed is not good. It's nice to make money, and as we see, I know everybody's ecstatic where metals are right now. But as Andy always talks about, the people with Bitcoin, they take some, they make a profit, they take it off the table, they buy some metal, a hard asset that you can actually hold, feel, and sense. Well, with silver, as we see it go higher, it's not just an all or none type of situation where you get out of silver and into gold. And I think that's an important thing. You take certain pieces off the table, you peel back a little bit of the layer of the onion every so often. We have plenty of clients that are sitting in silver now that are well north of 100% return. Now, I won't say that many of them have started a swap to gold even right now, and I think that's probably smart. We still have some room to go. But as we start getting a little bit higher, I do think it's a good idea that you start, at least in your head, formulating some type of plan, because planning is good. You plan your work and you work your plan. You take a percentage off the table on silver, you put it into gold. Another leg up in silver, you take another piece off, and you put it into gold. I know that's how certainly Andy has built an empire for himself on these trades, because they do come just a couple of times in a lifetime.
Yeah, and we're not at the silver to gold swap yet, but we will be certainly watching that very closely. And just for people's, own understanding of this, the first YouTube video I did was with Bix Swear, and I want to say it was 2010. And talking to Bix, and he says, Andy, the gold to silver ratio is at 85-1. This was in 2010, and I start digging. I'm like, that's the I can't, as far as I can tell, that's only the second time in human history it's been that high. I said, we need to do a video, and we need to tell everyone to sell me their gold. I'll sell it to the marketplace. We'll switch them into silver. And we did. And within 7 months of doing that, the price went to just below 37-1, like 36 or 35-1 even. So let's just call it 35-1 from 85-1. 7 months earlier, you took 1 ounce of gold, would get you 85 ounces of silver. 7 months later, with $1,915 gold and $50 silver, which at the time was 37-1, but it went a little lower than that. When I started telling people to do it, it was at 37-1, and you would have only needed 37 ounces of silver to buy that 1 ounce of gold. You would have made over twice plus what you started with. This is the theory behind it. And when you talk about long-term historical averages, the further away you get from historical averages, the greater the magnetism that pulls you to the mean. I like to talk about baseball players. That would be kind of like your favorite baseball player who gets 600 at-bats a year in the big leagues, starts out the season batting 700. There's been one baseball player in the modern era that's batted 400. It was Ted Williams on the last day of the season. He just barely like 401. There's been no one else that ever has. So if in that respect, regression to the mean would say you go to Vegas and bet everything you have that he won't bat 400 or above. Right. No one's going to take that bet. But the point of it is that the further away you get from those averages, the greater the likelihood that we return to the mean. And that's exactly what we've seen. But I'll tell you, this has outlasted everyone's expectation. I mean, literally, this has been, and that's the old saying, markets can stay irrational longer than people can stay solvent. So
not only this is irrational,
we'll get there.
This isn't irrational. I mean, remember, and to remind everyone, when silver, at least back in 80 and 11, went to these peaks, they did not go at a very steady rate.
No, I'm not talking about the price of silver being irrational. I'm talking about the ratio between the two being irrational. From a historical and geological standpoint, it is.
Oh, that is.
And you're right. Those peaks that we saw in 1980 and in 2011 were blow-off tops. It just feels that this time is different because the West in particular is classifying gold and silver differently than they ever have.
No doubt.
And putting silver as a critical mineral is something that you can just assume that they've put a floor under the price. That's what I assume. And to see the amount of imports coming into this country, it's not tariffs, it's much deeper than that. I would say that this is the beginning of a new monetary system.
And I'll tell you, I know that from a business perspective for Miles Franklin, we're feeling it. It's different because, I mean, even today, and we have been busier on a retail perspective than we have in a long time.
Yes.
And our inventory levels are not what they were.
No, because all of the dealers have been choking on inventory, so they haven't had a need to go out and buy more. And remember, how many times have I said, just like that, it changes instantly. And, you know, we've been doing a lot of several $1 million orders every day, not just one or two a day, but several big orders that have drained the inventory. And now you got to go out and get it and compete with everyone else and get it largely from around the world.
And pay up for it.
And so it's a weird time. You know, talking with Rick again this morning, he re-echoed 0.5% allocation, but that's changing. And I always used to joke 0.5% from Joe and Jane six-pack to the Harvard Endowment Fund. But the Harvard Endowment Fund just bought a whole bunch of gold a couple weeks ago. The big money is waking up to the need to protect themselves from what is considered traditional. And that used to be in the form of bonds. But who the hell would buy a 4% bond with 7% annual money creation and a dollar that's down 11% this year and $2 trillion deficits? And, you know, and so I think the world is waking up to that for sure.
Jana told me I have to take off my vest, so I'm not going to do
Why?
that. So, because I guess it's my microphone. So instead, I'm just going to hold it because I like my vest. And, you know, this was your mic that wasn't working, so I'm taking one for the team here.
You are a vesty kind of guy. I mean,
well,
I always.
You know
do you ever not weigh what?
What
did I
say? Said to me over the weekend?
What did I say?
That I was your best friend.
My best friend. You are my best friend. You are. Definitely. In fact, I don't have any other best friends.
That is true. That is true. Zach Ryan wants to know if Miles Franklin sees a shortage of 90% junk silver. Some shops seem to have shortages.
I wonder if it's really Jack Ryan, but he's calling himself Zach
Ryan.
Yeah. Do we have what?
Shortage of 90% junk?
No, we have a lot of it.
I
bought back with you in the car. How much did I buy back? I bought back $5 million worth.
145
bags. Yes, yeah. I bought $5 million worth just the other day for inventory. And
that's not going to last very long.
No.
You also, at the same time,
we sold a lot
of them.
Even more than that, I think.
So basically, net.
But you know, we had $11 million worth at one point, and we have right now. We have at 69 cents over. I think we have half dollars. Yeah. Most of my career, half dollars cost more than dimes and quarters. During the pandemic, you would have paid $14 over for that, 13, 12 over.
Yeah.
So we do have it. The local coin shops have a hard time keeping stuff because the local coin shops don't have big enough budget to hold that stuff on stock. Part of our secret sauce, and if there's any other metals companies out there, please turn down your volume for a moment. One of the things that we have is relationships with hundreds of local coin shops around the country who were their first call when someone comes in with a large buyback. Most of these companies don't hedge. So they'll be like, 1 second, they'll run into the back. They'll say, I got a guy here with 8 bags of junk silver and I got to pay him. I don't have $240,000 liquid. Will you take it for me? And I said, sure, done. And that's what we do. So we will buy stuff back from a lot of these coin shops because they don't hedge. Yeah. And it's hard to keep inventory in stock at these levels.
Well, John is telling us to answer questions because we have a bunch and we were on a roll here. So
let's do it.
Will premiums go back up for numismatics as gold becomes more scarce?
It has to. Just like premiums were out of control on the upside during the last 4 years, they're out of control on the downside right now. I've never seen anything like it. Honest to God, I have never seen anything like it. And so when I look at what's made me successful in terms of trades, it's always been by identifying and exploiting price anomalies, whether it be related to the market or related to the price. In this case, the premium. It's an anomaly on the downside. You have no opportunity cost in buying $20 gold pieces that are less than a gold eagle. In 2007 and 8 and 9, with roughly $1,000 gold, I would have paid you a $600 premium for an MS-62 Saint or Lib. Now you're buying it for under the price of a gold eagle dramatically. For a 64, 65, you're talking double spot back in 07, 8, and 9, easy. And now you're getting it for just over spot. So yeah, I would say it's a buyer's market. I would suspect premiums go up, but when you're buying it at virtually no premium, it really doesn't matter when they go up, because ultimately they probably will, but you're not paying that monster upcharge when you buy it right now. It's probably the best value in gold right now, period.
Yeah. David Cerngal wants to know, now that copper is strategic as well, will Miles Franklin be selling 10-pound bricks, even though many say it's too bulky, like they also said about silver? Well, as bulky as silver is, copper is way, way bulkier. I don't think, I'm not going to speak for Andy, but I don't believe that we're going to be starting to sell.
So I had a company of miners send me a bunch of 1 ounce silver copper rounds that they made. They wanted me to kind of whet my appetite. You show someone a silver eagle. When I first moved into our community, I gave everyone Morgan dollars as ball markers on the golf course, right?
I remember.
And you see people now, they all have the Morgans, and you give someone a Morgan dollar or a silver eagle, and they look at it and they're like, wow, that's really cool. What is that? Tell me about it. I didn't get that feeling with copper at all. In fact, you had a hard time telling it, if you didn't know any better, what the hell is it? Yeah. And I think that copper is, while it is a, certainly you could argue a good investment, I've had the best luck doing it in the form of stock. Freeport-McMoRan is how I have chosen to own copper. I think it is something that the world does not recognize and is not awestruck over. And I think when you're using something like silver for trade and appreciation, I think it's much easier, pound for pound, storage, liquidity, flexibility, understanding demand, all of it, to not buy copper physically. Look, when it's only a few dollars a pound, if you take a pound, if you take the value of silver per pound, you're talking what, $500+ versus a few dollars. So you're talking 500 times the bulkiness. It's just not worth it.
I'm going to take
250 times the bulkiness.
I'm going to take a wild guess here. I'm going to ask this question, and
boy.
I'm going to see if I could answer for you.
You just put that back on your jacket, by the way.
I just got tired of holding it.
Okay.
Jay Garza said, Andy, taking into account premiums, liquidity, and desirability, don't answer this. What is your favorite fractional gold right now? Can I tell the public what it is that you probably, if I'm correct, you purchased and brought it home today?
Today, it's in the other
Andy's
office.
favorite is, without a doubt, hands down, the 1/10 ounce gold eagle.
I bought 50 of them today.
And
that's
what
right.
did I ask you when you went there?
Do we have more?
That's
and
right,
yes, we do.
I wanted to get a tube myself.
We do. They're hard to get these days, but yeah, I do, and they are my favorite. The 1/10 ounce gold eagle is by far, in my opinion, the best way to own fractional gold. They're the size of a dime. They come in tubes of 50. It's the same design as the American Eagle, only little bitty baby ones. They're 22 karat instead of 24 karat. And let's just dispel any rumors that people don't get about the gold eagle. I'm going to use it in the form of a 1 ounce gold eagle, but it divides out,
arithmetically?
Yes, thank you. Arithmetically, it divides out. So a 1 ounce gold eagle has 1 ounce of pure 24 karat gold plus 1/10 of an ounce of mostly silver and a drip of copper alloy added to it. Makes the net weight 1.1 ounce, decreases the purity from 24 to 22. So I guess you could say there is 1/100th of an ounce of alloy in the 1/10 ounce coin. What that basically means is that you could play poker. We could play poker with 10th ounce eagles and be throwing them, splash the pot if you want. And they would look brand new at the end of the night. And so because of that little bit of alloy, the strength, but has the same amount of gold as any other coin.
Yeah. And it's what gives it the copper hue.
Yes. Hue. How do you know I was going to say that?
Hue.
Yeah.
Which, you can't do that. If we take out gold buffaloes and we throw it across
the
table,
they'd look 50 years old by the end of the night.
By 2 throws, they'd be dinged up, scratched, and everything, and withered.
So yeah, the 10th ounce eagle, from a standpoint of being resilient, recognized, liquid. They say 1/10 ounce gold, pure gold, United States Mint, the whole 9 yards. I think it's by far the best choice.
And I'd like to know the fact that I know you that well, that I know what your favorite.
Well, you also know
your
that
favorite
you
color is.
knew that I went out to
But
buy.
I
bought
listen,
50 of them today from
before that
operations.
you were going out to buy them. By far and away, I knew what your favorite fractional coin is because it became my favorite fractional.
Yeah,
coin.
I mean,
So
it is, and they come. We used to market them. We used to call them lipstick tubes. It's about the size of a tube. The tube is the size of a lipstick container for a woman, and so you can have 5 of them. Right. You can have 25 ounces in each hand, 50 ounces of gold in 5 tubes in your clenched hands. And, you know, what would that be? 50 times, you're talking $200,000. Is that right? Yeah. So
which tubes right now, what about 20, 22, something
yeah.
like that, 22, 24,000 around there?
Yep.
Yeah. Robert Hutchinson wants to know if we will ever get a look into the Miles Franklin vault and see the operation someday.
Well, there is a video out there on Liberty and Finance with me and Dunnigan in one of our vaults. And this would have been 2, 3, 4 years ago. I'm wearing a Pink Floyd shirt. And we were in the vault and we did a podcast in the vault. And go to Liberty and Finance and search, I don't know what the name of it is, but it would be something about in the Miles Franklin vault. And you'll see it is one of the 2 facilities that we have. That one is in North Dakota. So Liberty and Finance, Dunnigan Kaiser, go to his website. You'll see it.
Yeah, Kathy wants to know with what's going on in gold and silver, would you recommend trading in a monster box for gold at this point since silver is increasing so much, almost doubled in 1 year? I think Anthony answered it. We're not at that ratio yet where we would recommend swapping
Not yet
for gold.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we would like to help you do it, if that's what you want to do, we will, but it's not the time to do it yet because
we're actually still doing a lot more swaps from gold to silver because a lot of people think that there's so much silver upside still. That
the only thing that I guess could throw a wrench in the works would be if gold just became unobtainium. Let's hope it doesn't happen that way. But yeah, the value is still in holding silver.
Yeah. Justin wants to know, he's always been torn between buying generic rounds with low premium and closer to spot versus buying silver eagles. I tend to gravitate to American silver eagles. Thoughts? Well, very simple. Andy is always a huge fan of silver eagles.
Yeah.
And there's 2, and Richard Russell.
Yeah.
His mentor.
Yeah.
Had a little bit different feeling on that, right?
He always said it's the number of ounces that matter. And I struggle with that. I have mostly silver eagles and silver Morgan dollars and silver peace dollars. That is the primary holding that I have. I have a bunch of 100-ounce bars, and I have a bunch of Canadian and Australian coins too that I really do want to trade. And I have a relationship in Florida with a big wholesaler, and I brought a whole bunch of it there. One of the guys, his name is Bob, and Bob, if you're watching, you know I love you, buddy. I saw Bob today, and he said, you know, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because it's number of ounces that matter. Sometimes, you know, you do what you feel is right, even if it's conventionally not considered wise. I prefer the American coins for a myriad of reasons, but in the end, it is about the number of ounces. If you're playing the gold to silver swap, silver to gold swap, it's probably not a good idea to do that. But if you are buying silver and you want, in my opinion, the preferred form above all else, it's American Eagles. Now, during the pandemic, I told everyone to not buy them. The premiums were too high. They're not too high right now. They're still much higher than everything else, but you know, if I had my druthers, I would own silver eagles, but I own Australian coins, Canadian coins. I own Swiss 100-ounce bars, mostly eagles and Morgans and peace dollars.
Yep. Okay, Drew B. No, Drew B.
Drew P?
No, not Drew A.
Drew B.
Did you see today's Bloomberg actually said that U.S. gold reserves went over 1 trillion?
They did.
Then they had to correct themselves by stating that the U.S. book value was, of course, 22 an ounce, then said the revalue world.
Yeah, I did a podcast with JP Cortez this morning also from the Sound Money Defense. Yeah. What a cool guy and a cool mission that they're doing. Yeah. And my respect to Stefan and JP, sincerely. he told me that the market value is over $1 trillion, but that again hasn't been audited since '53, and maybe with all the gold coming into the country, there's actually more value there. But yeah, I did see that, or I was informed about it.
All right. Well, I mean, Duke Daddy. I like that, Duke Daddy. What's up, Duke Daddy? He wants to know when the manipulation stops.
Maybe they manipulate it to the upside, Duke Daddy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the plan is and squeeze the dummies who are left holding the bag short. Maybe that's the European banks. Maybe the Western banks are preparing by getting long and closing out their shorts to squeeze those that are still short, manipulated on the upside.
Here's a good question, because a lot of people that are on YouTube like yourself, I think some use fear to push their product, which you never do.
No, but some of the stuff I talk about is scary, and I try to caveat by saying I'm scared too.
Yes,
and I'm not trying. No, we're not. And to me, I mean, all the time that I've sold metal, I've never spoke to these types of fear-mongering aspects. It's about wealth.
Yeah, but this leads me to the question that Rick is asking. With silver now being classified as a critical mineral, are we closer to confiscation? So I want you to answer that the same way as when I would ask you early on in the career if we're going to see that again. Enlighten everyone out there what your thoughts are.
My thought is it would be counterproductive for the land of the free, the home of the brave, the world reserve currency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the center of free trade, to enact eminent domain and take physical metal from the populace when so few people actually own it. Again, 0.5%. Even if we see a 10-fold increase in demand in this country, would mean 5% holdings by the public, which, Lord knows how far away we are from that. But instead, you look at BlackRock and JP Morgan as the custodians of GLD and SLV, SLV being the largest stockpile of silver in the world, or thereabouts, and they could come in on a Friday night. You and I are not allowed to ever possess the metal. Only those massive purchases where it's considered a basket, like the Central Bank of Saudi Arabia took a huge position in silver. Through SLV, they can demand delivery unless the custodian shuts that off and says, no, we're not going to give it to you anymore. But the point of it is that if you have BlackRock and JP Morgan, JP who paid a $920 million fine for suppressing the metals market, the largest fine the Justice Department ever handed out, why not just have them be the administrator of this massive ETF, come in on a Friday night, close the fund, say it's gone, we've taken it over, your money is in your money market account, you can still go buy physical metal. We didn't make holding metal illegal. Instead, they could have their cake and eat it too by closing down all of the IRAs. Excuse me, that's a Freudian slip right there, because that's actually where I was going to go. But closing down the ETFs. Now, there was at one point also in 2009 a bill that made it to the House floor that talked about if things ever went upside down again in the money markets, which is called breaking the buck, which we saw in 2008, that they could, take everyone's IRAs and put them in what would be like an annuity backed by U.S. Treasuries. That bill got voted down. It was vetoed, never made it really out of committee. It made it to the House floor, but never went any further. And that was enough for me. I got scared by that and cashed out my own personal IRA. It was the wrong decision, but I did it anyway. Whenever I make a decision that I make on my own, I'm good with it, right or wrong. It's easier to be wrong when you do it on your own.
You always say it.
Yeah, and I've been right in my own doings more than I've been wrong.
100%.
But the point of it is that you have the ability to have your cake and eat it too if you're the government. You have these huge stockpiles of metal held by BlackRock and JP, who are agents for the government, whether we like it or not. They are. And they could take that and say to the world, we didn't break any laws, we didn't infringe any civil liberties, you're welcome to own physical metal in this country, we just closed these funds, which none of you are able to take possession of anyway. So I think it's a backdoor confiscation tool rather than going door to door. Because if that happened, I think we would, it's bad enough we lack trust in the world. If people see, if other nations see us taking metal from our own populace when China and Russia and all of these countries are begging their citizens to own it, even a communist country like China, then I think no one will ever trust us again.
All right, we're going to do some rapid fire questions because we're at about an hour and 5 minutes, and it looks like we have a bunch of questions to still get through. Quickly, I want you to answer this. Don't hesitate. Hold on, where is it? There we go. What do you think will double first, silver or Bitcoin?
Silver.
Love that. You heard it here first.
I mean, Bitcoin to double at 200,000+. I think it's
220,000. So we're talking either 96, 97, 98, or $250,000.
Yep.
Roughly. Okay. Here's a good one. Mark Taylor asked,
by the way, that would be where it's supposed to go, according to the cup and handle. That would be the technical analysis.
That's the next move.
Yes.
It doesn't mean it's
once it breaks through 50.
Right. Mark Taylor says, what do you guys think will happen in the market next week when the China market is down? Prices are higher there now, so they're buying big here.
I don't know what is in the Chinese market. Maybe there's a holiday or something.
Yeah.
Those types of holidays are typically when the traders will like to push things around. But more important question is what happens when the Chinese market opens back up.
Right. Yeah. 100%. But generally speaking, usually in that illiquid time frame, it generally, at least in the equities market, moves toward the way that the momentum had been moving. So it could be good for us. This is PJ Ballard wants to know, when are we doing the shows to explain all the abbreviations and all those things that we had talked about, and basically cutting everything into baby food? Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should prep for it. Maybe do it Monday.
We could do it in Aruba.
Oh, that's a good idea. Why don't we do that?
Okay. We'll do that soon.
That's going to be, so that'll be a week from Monday.
Yeah.
That would be on the 13th, I think is the date, that Monday.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure that we'll get all set up. We'll make sure that we have good Wi-Fi while we're there to do that. So tentatively, we will look to the 13th.
We could maybe even do it next week.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm open to it.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I leave Monday, so we'll have to just see what's going on there. But we will definitely have it within the next couple of weeks.
We need to write down all of those things too.
And by the way, what I would ask from you, the listening public, please send in to us anything that you believe that we should cover in that, because we'd like to get as much from you guys that we can take in, that we can give right back.
Maybe we can do it from the swimming pool.
That'd be great.
Let's have the computer right on the ledge with the cocktail.
And we don't need to be mic'd up. We can just have the computer right there. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they want to see my shirt off, but that's, again, that could be a nightmare for everyone. For you.
Horrible.
Inventory numbers. Do we have new inventory numbers or no? From the LBMA?
No.
Okay.
No,
we'll get those. Robert Hutchinson wants to know, is the retail public waking up yet? Well, I can tell you
slowly. Little by little.
Little by little, I can tell you, certainly in the past week, maybe 2 weeks, we have definitely seen a very, very big uptick in retail demand. There's no question about it. We have been telling our traders to go out and buy as much as they possibly can.
Are they listening is a question. I hope so.
I just don't. I mean, even when I get done, and I know that you're the same way. I mean, I'm not done working until 10, 11 at night. You know that I got the call the other day, and I did an order at 3 a.m.
I was there, but the guy was in Hawaii, so it's not as horrible as it thinks. But what it is, he's a hard worker, no question about it. I was there with you, though.
So here's what we had today. A lady called up, sweet lady. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but it says Yami or Yame. I'm not sure what it is. So when we sell liquidate gold or silver in the future, do we get USDT instead of the dollar? Is that what's going to happen?
Well,
it'll probably be a stable coin.
Yeah, it probably will be. It's whichever stable coin is issued by our bank. And I would think that's exactly what will happen. But you won't know any different, as it would be the same thing as if you received a wire or a check on your account balance. It will look the same. It's just that when it's transmitted, it will be in the form of stable coins. And it'll be just like that instead of the typical time lag that there is between money transmission. It'll be like Venmo, basically.
Is the podcast that you did today with Rule and McLeod going to be? Are we going to have that on our website?
I don't know. And I was 40 minutes late. The color was all screwed up. The camera was, the whole thing sucked from my perspective. It's on Liberty and Finance.
It was a good interview.
Yeah, but I look like crap on it. It's Liberty and Finance. Dunnigan Kaiser was the host, and it was Alistair, myself, and Rick.
I don't know, but this next one I'm going to put up.
Oh God,
I
here we
have to
go.
agree.
What's that?
When are we going to do a steal your face silver rounds with Miles Frank?
Okay, so that's my computer, by the way.
I know, but when are we doing it? Because that's pretty cool.
I would love to do that, actually.
That would be very cool.
And have it painted.
Oh my God, that'd be great. Silver colored on one side.
We could have like
the Trump ones.
We could have Jana and Julie, who are both very talented.
Yeah.
They could hand paint all of them.
We have to get that. We have to. That's trademarked or.
Oh yeah.
Right. Registered. We could probably get a licensing deal on it.
Well, I mean, I think you can.
Make it similar.
It could be similar,
right.
and don't put steal your face on it.
The lightning bolt through it.
I would love that. A Grateful Dead
that would be
coin.
Awesome. With
yeah.
Color on one side.
I love it.
We should do that. Well, you know that we can now do that. They have the machinery for us.
Yeah.
We just have to come up with something great. I think those would be.
I'd buy them.
Oh,
hell yeah.
I mean, I'd buy 12 monster boxes of those.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to get to work on that. Perfect. I love. Let's see. Well, War and Peace wants to put a little bit of religious things in there. Ezekiel 7:19. Their silver and gold will not save them on the day of the Lord's wrath. They will throw their money in the streets. Their silver and gold shall be considered refuse. Biblical.
Well, I guess what he's basically saying is that there's more to life than gold and silver, which I agree with. But, you know, I don't think your dollar bills will save you either. And I think what it really truly means is that, you know, we focus on gold and silver because that's our business, and we try and make it more of a holistic deal. I mean, I'm up here for years screaming about all of the problems in this country. You know, go back and listen to anything I did over the last administration, screaming about the lawlessness, the open borders, the election interference, the two-tier justice system, the transition away from meritocracy, the wokeness. That's why I left Minnesota, a place I never wanted to leave, a place that I loved. Left my corporate office there, but I left my home there, my family, my friends, and came to Florida, where we've had an office for 17 years when I moved here, but just a satellite office that my oldest buddy Joel runs and ran. And all I can say to you is that I understand there's a whole lot more to life than gold and silver, but in a world where, you know, your wealth is dissipating, I think we need that needs to be focused on as well. But we're not just about that. We're a lot more than that.
No doubt about it. Mike Perry says, Andy, I was raised by bankers, and my dad said 25% of your net worth needs to be in gold and silver. I've been buying all my life, and I've never sold. Then you, my friend Mike, are also a very smart man.
And he's also doing exactly what Michael Hartnett is telling you to do now, and the CIO at Morgan Stanley, and he's smart. And that's exactly, in fact, there was a group called Ibbotson, IBBOTSON. They were bought by Morningstar. They are a ratings agency in essence, and they came out and said that they went through all different forms of portfolios and said any portfolio that is void of precious metals is one that does not perform as well. And it's the only asset that is truly inversely correlated to the U.S. stock market and to the U.S. dollar. So well done, sir.
Yeah. Moldunite. If junk silver keeps getting melted, will its value become more than just its silver content? Will mercury diamonds become historical collectibles, for example?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think I can see why there would be those that would melt it at the prices. You know, I was able to buy $11 million worth at 55 cents back a spot not too long ago. That's when we were selling it at spot. Will it? I don't know. I wouldn't melt mine down, but this is the whole argument for owning it. Aside from its utility, because it's so small, 14 dimes is almost exactly an ounce. It can't be reproduced. Hasn't been made since 1965. So you're talking 60 years ago. So it's getting to that point already.
Yeah. Cynthia O'Connor said she swapped out her gold for silver when the ratio was 101 to 1.
Well done.
At what ratio would you recommend we start looking to swap some more silver back to
50 to 1, which would still be higher. At 50 to 1, you're 7 times higher than it's coming out of the ground at, and it's a double. You start doing it then.
Cynthia must have done that probably the same day that I did, because that was just around the time that Trump announced the tariffs, and we saw that.
Could have been last March, too, or a couple of Marches ago.
During the banking crisis?
Yeah, it was like 23 or something. I forgot. It was in March. I don't remember what year it was, but it went all the way up to 125 to 1 was the highest ever.
My man, Alan Ritter. How are you, my friend? He wants to know the price difference between American Silver Eagle Monster Box and a Canadian
Alan
Maple
likes the
Box.
dead. Alan goes
I
to
know.
the dead shows.
He actually, well,
Alan thought that he sent me a message. I never got
I
that
know.
message, Alan. Honest to God, I would have loved to have known you were there. My son was there. No, what was the question he has?
He wants to know the price difference between Silver Eagle Monster and a Canadian Maple Monster.
$2.
Yeah, it's going to be about $2 difference.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit more because we saw a little price.
$1,000
yeah.
a box.
Yeah,
Alan, my Grateful Dead brother.
That's right. We will be coming to the Sphere again soon.
Yeah, they are coming back again, so we should go again.
Let's see. What is the premium on a 1/10 ounce gold eagle? I think we did them on special. I think that we had them listed.
They were like $39 over, weren't they?
45, and then they went up. But I think that we would do them.
Depends if they're brand new or the back dates, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $35 to $45, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Speaking,
over melt.
Usually the 25s are going to be more expensive.
Dumb to buy them though.
And it doesn't make sense because come November, December, when the pre-orders for the 26s are coming out, those 25s now become back dates.
I bought 50 back dates today from my operations. I didn't even look at the dates, but they're not 25s. I was told that when I was handed the tube.
There's nothing wrong with buying the current year, but if you're going to do it, buy a tube, buy a tube, and that way you have it set for everything. But don't go out and buy a monster box and spend more money. Put that money into the metal instead of that extra premium.
Yeah,
that's my 2 cents. All right. What is recommended to stack right now? Coins, rounds, or numismatic? I think that you mean numismatic, and I think we definitely don't want to do any silver numismatics unless we're talking about Morgans and earlier.
Modern numismatics is lipstick on a pig, and you buy Morgans Morgans are always great. The best value in gold, in my opinion, is the certified $20 gold pieces. It's very difficult to find a better value right now in my mind. And in silver, I wouldn't buy rounds. I mean, the pre-65 silver right now is by far the best value. In fact, it's, you're going to save way over $1 or $2 an ounce buying the $half we have on special, which were always more than the dimes and quarters, and always, I don't know. I just think it's by far a better buy than anything else out there right now.
I want to put this up because you enlightened me to this yesterday, and I was shocked. Scott Cooper at Robinson Hutchinson said Jay Bravo and family was attacked in Spain, and that was insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
my dad sent me another one today saying it was another one he said, watch this. It said, what really happened? Why did it happen? But yeah, he got off.
Bravo?
Yeah, he got off a cruise ship with his family. He gets in an Uber, not more than 2 minutes away. A car
stopped right in front of him.
Yep, they yank him out and start beating on him with a metal baton. Broke the kid's wrist, and he said when there were people in the restaurant because his daughter was screaming.
Right.
Called the cops. The cops came and Bravo said to one of the cops, "Is this your boss?" And the guy said, "Yeah." And it's like they're being shaken down by the police.
$500 or something like that. Just craziness. So be very careful.
Yeah, us Americans aren't loved so much anymore, it seems, around the world.
That's for sure. So Cynthia O'Connor just said the Shanghai Gold Exchange will be closed for 8 days starting on Monday. So it must be some type of.
I got to research that, Cynthia. I don't know. Thank you for enlightening me. By the way, Johnny Bravo, in my mind, you all, is Jay Bravo is one of the best shows to watch on YouTube. He's brilliant, and he's funny, and he's entertaining, and he's hardworking, and he's a straight shooter. Check him out, Jay Bravo, one of the best. I try not to miss him.
No better 16 minutes or to 20 minutes that you can get of everything that's going on in the world that's important than on Jay Bravo's show. Love him. And he's got great hair. Like really good hair. You should have
better, when you said no better 16 minutes, why did my head go straight to the shitter?
Well, 16 seconds, more like it, but that's fine. Bottom line is, he still has great hair.
Yeah.
You should maybe think about changing your hair to that.
No.
Okay. All right, let's see.
Better wrap it up, I think.
Yeah, we're at 1 hour and 20. And let's just see. Let's do 3 more questions.
Okay.
Well, actually, good. So Wilson wants to know, should he trade gold for silver at 80 to 1 right now?
No.
Or 85?
No, not yet.
No.
Oh, gold to silver. Yeah, I wouldn't trade all my gold, but if you don't own much in the way of silver, trading some would definitely it would be a good time to do it. And the only thing to keep in mind is that it's a taxable event, right? So if it's in an IRA, then the answer is absolutely yes. If it's just gold to silver, even though we don't report it, you have to. And it is selling one asset to buy, it's selling apples to buy oranges. So there is a taxable.
And everyone should really know that I got the question today. Somebody had 500-ounce bars that he wanted to know if he should wait and sell them in different pieces. And the answer is no. That is no longer a reportable event. It wouldn't have been anyway for 500-ounce bars. It used to be 1,000 ounces of silver. But now the regulations have changed. As a dealer, we no longer need to report 1099-Bs for anything less than 5,000 ounces of silver made up by at least 5 1,000-ounce bars.
Yeah, you could sell 50,000 ounces of silver in 100-ounce bars and it wouldn't trigger it. It has to be 5 1,000-ounce bars or more.
Correct. And gold on the same
3 kilos or 100 ounce.
Right. Exactly.
That's it. You can sell
made up of 3 kilos.
Yeah, you could sell 500 1-ounce bars, doesn't trigger it. You sell one 100-ounce bar, which I don't think we've ever sold one in 36 years. Then we would need it.
What, 1,000-ounce?
100-ounce gold bar.
I think you should give me one for the holiday.
Should I?
I think.
Okay. 100-ounce bar of what?
Everyone thinks of gold.
No.
I'll take one of silver. I'll take whatever you want. Just not copper.
All right.
Not copper. All right. Well, I think that's gonna kind of call it for the night.
You did very well tonight. You're really impressing me, Tattoo.
Well,
you really
appreciate
are.
that, Andy. Listen, I think
it's Tattoo's birthday next week, by the way.
This week, but that's
this
okay.
week, Thursday. Yeah.
That it is.
How old are you, Tattoo?
I will be 53 years young.
Wow.
53 years young. Yeah.
It's all downhill from there.
It's been 50s like that. You know what it is? It's
You're on the back nine.
I like playing the front nine.
Yeah.
The front nine is always it's always better.
The back nine you're on right now.
Yeah, and
that's sad.
Well, you've been on the back nine for like
longer than you.
A long time.
I know that sucks.
But that's okay. And meanwhile, Flip, he's been on the back nine, but everyone thought that he was my kid.
That's the funniest. This is a dude who is always smiling.
Good-looking guy.
He is, and we were at a casino, and the guy says, "Is that your son?" And he's older than him.
He's older than me.
That's what can you say? You just look old.
I actually wanted to leave the table. Is what I wanted.
I really enjoyed it, actually.
I'm sure you did. I mean, usually it's just a beast thing.
Yeah.
For that, but
although I did laugh at you the other night when I probably shouldn't have. That wasn't very nice.
Yeah, I mean, we can just tell.
Well, we don't even need to go over that.
We can just say that we were talking about crypto, and we were at this conference that we were speaking at. And yep, there he goes, right there. That was it. Same reaction. And we were talking about the potential downside to crypto and people not being fully aware of how to go about protecting their cryptocurrencies. And me in my younger, less informed days, I had a hot wallet on Exodus Wallet, and I fat fingered EXXODUS, and I actually, it asked me for my username and password. It looked exactly like it, and like an idiot, it asked me my seed phrase for security, and I put it in, and 2 seconds later, $50,000 was taken. He's laughing again. Can the camera get him? Yeah, laughing at me losing $50,000.
Well, I felt bad about it, but
not really.
Yeah,
you definitely didn't feel bad. By the way, I felt really bad. I felt like so violated at the time. It's a very, very valuable learning lesson. And
you handled it well.
To everyone out there, don't use hot wallets. Make sure everything's in cold storage. That's what I would tell you. That's my.
Or just buy gold and hold it yourself. You don't have to worry about fat fingering anything.
For both, correct?
Yes, there is, I guess.
So with that, we are going to bid you farewell for the week.
Sing a song.
I don't sing. Maybe we should get Russell here, and he'd love to entertain.
White Gold Russell?
White Gold Russell. We could do that. Maybe for next week.
Russell is a big guy at Morgan Stanley, and I sent him that article of the chief investment officer said 60, 20, 20, and I don't hear him anymore. Where are you, Russell? He never even replied to me, that bastard.
I know. And as a matter of fact, funny enough, that it was Julie's dad that sent me the piece from Jeffries. So, which I'd already seen, but it was him that had sent.
He was another bigwig at Morgan Stanley.
He was.
He must hate that.
Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think he I think he feels somewhat silly because when he sold his house and I told him he didn't need the money. He didn't need it with the sale of the home. So I told him, just take a third of the proceeds. Just put it away.
This is the home that they owned in
New York,
in upstate New York for a long time.
A long
so
time.
It was worth a lot of money at
Worth
that
a lot
point.
of money. And I said, just take a third and put it in gold. It doesn't pay.
What was it then?
Gold?
Yeah, 1600.
1650.
Yeah. Well, it would have only been a double plus.
Yeah, that's it. So in any case, he didn't. And,
what does my son-in-law know, that kid?
Exactly. I said, well, clearly more than he did.
Yeah, evidently.
In any case,
thank you,
subscribe,
everybody.
Smash that like button. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. And we will see you back here on Monday, most likely. Jana, we will make sure that we put it out on Twitter in advance. We didn't do so today, so for that, we apologize. And I am Tattoo signing out. That is Andy Sheckman.
God bless y'all.
We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Take care now.